Have you ever just stopped and thought about something kind of strange about our modern world? We hear it all the time. Basically, every country on Earth is in debt. We're talking the US, Japan, Germany, Nigeria, you name it. They all owe these mind-boggling amounts of money. But, that simple fact leads to a really profound question.
Right? I mean, if everyone owes money, who exactly are we all paying back? It sounds like some kind of riddle, but the answer? Well, the answer reveals the very foundation of our entire global economy. So, let's solve this mystery together.
Okay, first things first, we really need to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of what we're talking about. This isn't some small accounting error, it's a fundamental feature of our financial system.
Just look at this number, $315 trillion. That is the estimated total amount of money that the world owes. It's a figure so huge it's almost impossible to comprehend, but believe me, it is very, very real.
And this isn't just a story about a few big economies either. Nope, it's a global phenomenon. From the world's biggest superpowers to the smallest developing nations, debt is pretty much a universal language. Which, of course, brings us right back to our main question. Who is on the other side of all these deals?
So to find our mystery creditor, let's do what they always say, follow the money. We're going to start by looking at the number one tool governments use when they need to borrow.
It's called a government bond, and really, at its core, it's incredibly simple. It's just an IOU. The government basically says, hey, lend me some money today, and I promise I'll pay you back down the road with a little extra as a thank you. So the obvious next question is, who's buying all these IOUs?
And here we find our first big clue. It turns out a huge portion of a country's debt isn't held by some shadowy foreign power, but by itself, its own citizens through their pension funds, its own banks, and even its own central bank. A really good way to think about this is like one pocket owing money to the other pocket in the same pair of pants. A nation's debt is often this weirdly internal affair. It's a way of borrowing from its own future to pay for its present. But of course, that's not the whole story. Because on top of that, nations also buy each other's bonds all the time. China holds US debt. European investors hold Japanese debt. It's this complex, tangled web where pretty much every country is both a borrower and a lender at the same time. But this just makes the mystery even deeper.
See, if everyone is just passing these IOUs back and forth to each other, it kind of begs a much more fundamental question. And this is where we really get to the heart of the matter.
Exactly. Who had the money in the first place to start all this lending? To answer that, we have to understand that the thing we call money has changed a lot over time.
Way back in the day, money was a physical thing. Gold, silver. Debt meant borrowing an actual tangible asset. But over the centuries, we shifted from physical metal to paper promises, and now we're at something even more abstract, just digital numbers in a computer, backed by, well, nothing but our collective belief in the system.
And this brings us to an absolutely crucial realization. Most of the money in the world isn't printed by governments. Get this, it's created by commercial banks every single time they give out a loan. When you get a mortgage for a house, the bank doesn't take that money from a vault somewhere. It literally just types new digital money into existence. Debt creates money.
Okay, so if money is created from debt, and everyone is in debt, we can finally answer our question. The creditor isn't some shadowy figure or a specific country. It's something way more powerful and way more abstract.
So the answer to our big question is this. We tend to think of debt as a simple transaction, right? But on a global scale, it's not a transaction within the system, it is the system. It's the engine that literally creates the money that makes the world go round.
And this just gets to the absolute core truth of it all. This entire multi-trillion-dollar structure is built on one single fragile human emotion: trust. The belief that the numbers on the screen have value. The belief that those IOUs will actually be paid back. Our creditor isn't a person, it's our collective faith.
And here is the great paradox of it all. For our economy to grow, more money is needed. And since money is created from debt, the system requires constant, ever-increasing borrowing just to function. If the lending stops, the heart stops beating, and the whole economy just freezes.
But don't make the mistake of thinking the system is powerless. Oh no, this creditor has immense power. It can force entire nations to slash public spending, like we saw with Greece.
It directs wealth through interest payments straight to giant financial firms. And its central banks can conjure trillions of dollars out of thin air to stabilize markets, deciding who gets saved in a crisis.
So what this all really means is that our houses, our roads, our schools, our entire way of life, it's all built on a foundation of debt. It's this invisible architecture of promises and belief that we all participate in every single day, whether we realize it or not.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty profound question to chew on. If this entire global system is really just a story we all agree to tell ourselves about the value of digital numbers and promises, what happens if we decide to tell a different story? A story built not on owing some invisible system, but on trusting each other. Something to think about.